CHGO White Sox pregame show, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into Studio A of our CHGO offices in beautiful Chicago. We're here in where the hell are we? West Loop.
There it is.
Of our CHGO offices.
Same spot as always,
Mercy.
Sean.
I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. He's got a brand new article up at ALLCITY talking about yesterday's wild win. And the man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Eckerwall23. We'll talk a little bit about the subject of Vinnie's topic because it was injuries. And, oh boy, do we have updates. We have updates on Eloy Jimenez, Yoan Moncada, Tim Anderson. We'll start with the good. It seems like Eloy Jimenez will be returning this weekend off the IL. So, good news. As normal, seems like he is ready to return to the Sox. Worse news, though, Yoan Moncada will seemingly miss the next 2 days. Still day-to-day with back soreness, but he won't be on the IL. But Lynn Sosa now joining the team because Tim Anderson is on the IL.
Yeah, it's a whole lot to process. Tim Anderson going on the injured list, obviously the biggest news item of the day so far. Probably will remain the biggest news item, though I guess you knock on wood if you're a White Sox fan after I say that.
Unless, no hitters and,
Sure, right, exactly. But, that goes to show you how White Sox fans are feeling, that I immediately think that the biggest item of the day has to be bad news. But yeah, Tim Anderson has a sprained knee after the collision at third base yesterday on that very goofy, weird, not good play by Hanser Alberto. And he's going to miss the next 2 to 4 weeks. It is not good, obviously, when the White Sox are without their most important player for any length of time. If it ends up being closer to a month than 2 weeks, wow, that's really unfortunate. That is reminiscent of the injuries that have plagued this team for the last 2 seasons coming into this one. Spring seemed so relatively healthy, and here we go. You've got Eloy Jimenez and Tim Anderson on the injured list at the same time. And then obviously, a guy who is important in his own right, not the face of the franchise type importance of Tim Anderson, but Joe Kelly yesterday going on the IL with his groin injury suffered while running in from the bullpen to be part of the fracas on the field. These are 2 injuries. We talk about it. Listen, bad luck. You can't avoid bad luck in baseball, right? Eloy Jimenez pulls his hamstring. That's bad luck. It's going to happen. You wish it wouldn't if you're the White Sox, but it happens. These 2 injuries to TA and Joe Kelly, these are unforced errors. Yeah. These are self-inflicted wounds, a defensive miscue that ends the worst way imaginable with an injury to your team's most important player. And then, my goodness, everybody just settle down, and Joe Kelly doesn't have to stand up in the bullpen, let alone run in. So, again, these are... like I said, self-inflicted wounds. These are things that didn't have to happen. Yeah, you can't avoid bad luck, and injuries like the ones that happened to Eloy, the back soreness that Yoan is suffering. These are things that are going to happen throughout a baseball season. You wish for the minimal amount if you're a team, but man, what you can control, Tim couldn't control it. Don't get him wrong, but what you can control are things going the way they're supposed to, making smart decisions, having cool heads in the case of what happened on Sunday with Joe Kelly, and that did not happen the last 2 days. So if you want to be frustrated by that, go ahead. I think, if you look across the league, every team is already dealing with injuries. We're 2 weeks into the season, and everybody's dealing with injuries. All you got to do is look at the Minnesota Twins.
Really? Yeah.
Their injury list is way longer than what the White Sox are dealing with right now. But a team that was supposed to cut down on the mistakes, play smarter because of the new manager and the new coaching staff, now back-to-back days with injuries, taking players off the field because the play was not as smart as it should have been.
Alex Kirilloff, Jorge Polanco, Royce Lewis, Gilberto Celestino, Max Kepler, and now, just added about a minute before we started the show, Joey Gallo are all on the IL for the Twins. So,
and Carlos Correa is still out of the lineup with his back issue that's going on. So if the White Sox are dealing with it with Yoan Moncada, the Twins are dealing it with Carlos Correa.
And one of those guys is cheaper.
Yeah, much cheaper. And I think that I'm going to choose to be neutral, not negative on this one, because you can go to negative, Tom, because of all the bad luck the White Sox had last year, some of their own doing and some just natural happenstance. But as Vinnie was just stating, I think the White Sox, I think they're in a good spot even though you have two guys who are clutch to your winning the 2023 division out of the lineup. Well, three guys with Yoan Moncada resting that sore back. But the good news, I'm going to choose to believe that Eloy will come back and nothing will be of, he won't have any lingering feelings. I think that was a precautionary thing for them to do that, and that feels good that he's coming back immediately when he's eligible to come off the IL. Tim, we don't know. 2 to 4 weeks, and as Vinnie say, I hope it's more closer to 2 than the 4. And as you illustrated yesterday, Sean, with the graphics since 2019, the White Sox are pretty much a 500 team without Tim, and so I think they can tread water a little bit better this year because of the Elvis Andrus switching back over to shortstop, and you can get Romy and whoever, Hanser Alberto, at second base, and with a mix in on Leaning Sosa. I think they'll be fine in his stead, but it's much rather have Tim in the lineup than not. But I don't know if it's, here we go again type of stuff, because I know as White Sox fans, we can get there. We can, see an injury of 3 of our best players and okay, what else can go wrong? And so I'm choosing to be positive and knowing that our main opponent right now, the Twins, also dealing with a lot of injuries.
Well, and I'll say this when it comes to Tim, I think all you need to do is look back to the last 2 years. When he went out late in the 2021 season, not for a very extended time, but for a while, he was dealing with leg soreness, as Tony La Russa kept calling it. When he came out of the lineup, it was noticeable. The White Sox were devoid of energy when he came out of the lineup, even for just a little bit. And then last year, a lot of guys in spring training were talking about maybe that being kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for the White Sox last year. Tim Anderson not able to come back, missing a significant period of time there at the end of the year over the last couple months of the season. And, not that the White Sox were exactly rah when he was playing last year, because it was kind of a season-long struggle with them to get over that 500 hump, which they never ended up doing, finishing at 500. But that end of the season, when you are trying to muster one last rally and you don't have the guy who is the spark plug for your team, that's tough. They pointed that out last year, and any time that Tim Anderson is not available to the White Sox, any time that he's overcome by frustration and he can't provide the kind of dugout energy that he does. Heck, we saw it in that series against the Giants when he's standing on the top step yelling. He ends up getting thrown out of the game, but that's the energy that Tim Anderson brings, and the White Sox would vastly prefer him do that, get thrown out a couple times, than not do it at all. When he's hurt, when he's overcome by the frustration of not being able to play, they don't have it at all, and that has been a problem in the recent past. It could be a problem moving forward.
And Pedro credited that fire after he got tossed too. We were all kind of like, I don't know if you should be getting yourself run out, but you even brought up after that Pedro was kind of loving the fire from TA. A lot of numbers out there too on what the Sox record is when TA is on the IL. This is from 3 different people. Optimus Sox said the Sox are 25-23 in since 2020 when TA is on the IL. My numbers have 48-50 when TA doesn't play since 2020, and then Ryan McGuffey has 64-69. So we cannot get on the same page on what the White Sox are when Tim Anderson does or does not play, but it's a little bit below 500.
On the same ballpark, though.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Ballpark.
Yeah,
no, it's not good. But again, it's April 11th, or it doesn't matter if it's April 11th or freaking September, like Pedro said, but it is sustainable because it's not a long injury, a long-term injury where, with the finger that he was dealing with. I mean, there was the moment where you thought he might come back last year, September 20th, for that Guardians series at the G rate. Didn't come to fruition. They didn't get that spark 8-game losing streak. I don't think it's going to snowball without TA, was my point. I think that they could be fine. And, when TA returns, hopefully 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they're, 3 games below 500 at worst? I don't think that the bottom's going to fall out on this team. And we can show the graphic of Tim Anderson when he does certain things since 2020. This is from NBC Sports Chicago, so hopefully this one's right. But since 2020, when Tim Anderson gets a hit, they're 124-74. When he gets multiple hits, 72-32. When he scores a run, 94-46. And when he has an RBI, 62-15. Clearly, when he does well, they do well. It's the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah, and I think this is a good chance for some of the bench players to contribute, as they did yesterday and throughout the season they have been doing. So Gavin Sheets has a chance to step up in the stead of Eloy Jimenez in the short period he's gone. Same thing with Jake Berger, Hanser Roberto. This is a chance for them to get some extended playing time, more than they probably bargained for in the month of April, and to show out. And for starters like Andrew Benintendi, who's had a tough start to his April, to solidify himself at the top of the lineup. Now he's going to be batting for today at the leadoff spot. It's time for him to, get that on-base tool that we've been talking about all off season and put that into fruition, and not those lazy swings that lead to pop-ups in the left field and right field. I think he's pressing too much as the 3-hitter. Maybe a more familiar spot in the 1 or 2 spot will get the Andrew Benintendi that we're more used to seeing instead of the guy that we've gotten so far.
And real quick, we'll probably touch more on this in the post game, but Lynn getting the call up. Are we surprised that he's not in the lineup? We can go through the lineup and see it. Reports late last night that Lynn was going to get the call up before the news that TA was going to hit the IL. So it sounds like he didn't leave Charlotte. Sorry, Steven, you could flash it. It seems like he didn't leave Charlotte until last night, but as Herb mentioned, Andrew Benintendi will lead off in left field. Luis Robert Jr. in center field, batting second. Batting third, Gavin Sheets at designated hitter. Batting fourth, Andrew Vaughn at first base. Batting fifth, Yasmani Grandal at catcher. Batting sixth, Jake Berger at third base. Batting seventh, Oscar Colas in right field. Batting eighth, Romy Gonzalez playing second base. And batting ninth, Elvis Andrus at shortstop. That's what I expected. Romy Gonzalez playing second base, Elvis Andrus at shortstop. I'm not too surprised to see Lynn Sosa not in the lineup, because if he was going to be in the lineup, he probably would have made the 26-man roster, right?
Yeah, that would be my thought. Here's the thing. I mean, a guy can tear it up for a week in AAA. It doesn't necessarily vault him over major leaguers on the depth chart just because he arrives. I'm sure he'll get some run. I'm sure he'll get some playing time. I mean, he could very well be a part of this team's future, and they're going to want to find that out. They're going to want to make sure that he is able to contribute with that whole thing of, you don't want guys to rust on the bench. It applies to guys who get called up too. You don't call somebody up just, in case something else happens. You want them to be able to get their swings and get their reps out in the field as well. So you'll see Lynn Sosa. But again, if he was above Romy Gonzalez on the depth chart, he would have made the opening day roster, and Romy Gonzalez wouldn't have. That would have been my thought. So, he's just another infielder. He's the next man up, if you want to talk about it that way. But it doesn't necessarily mean the next man up to get starts every single day.
I'm sure tomorrow, with it being a noon game in Minnesota after a night game, Lynn will get in because, Elvis probably need a rest or something like that. So I'm not too worried about Lynn not playing today and him not getting the call for being starting today. As Vinnie said, Romy has proven that he is the better player and more versatile. So he has a better role on the White Sox, not just being a middle infielder. He can also play the outfield a little bit. The other day in Pittsburgh, notwithstanding that ball was on the wall, it's tough to catch that one for Romy Gonzalez. So I'm not going to get him too tough of a blow right there. But yeah, Lynn Sosa, had been tearing the cover off the ball down there in Charlotte. But remember, Charlotte, notorious bandbox. But Lynn has been crushing for like a 500 average and hitting the ball at a good pace. He'll get in, and if he wants to stay in, continue to hit when you do get your chance. No excuses, just hit.
It's 29 at-bats, so we will definitely chalk it up to a little bit of small sample size. But, yeah, he's averaged 448, on-base percentage of 556, slugging percentage of 828. That's an OPS of 1.384. And the big thing that Justin Jerschley, new manager of the Charlotte Knights, mentioned was his patience at the plate. So far, 7 walks to 5 strikeouts for Lynn Sosa. So that's been nice to see. However, I'm a dork. I'm a dweeb, as someone called me in the comments. So shout out to that person. But this dweeb is now giddy with StatCast data from AAA, AA, Single A. I mean, they got it at all levels. So this is fantastic. I have numbers for Lynn Sosa.
It's the kind of thing that does play into a dork stereotype. I got to be honest, John.
I'm a dweeb. I sit at home with my little computer and my numbers. 87.7 average exit velocity for Lynn Sosa down in AAA so far. A launch angle of 6.69. Usually 10 to 32 is a line drive, or 10 to 25 is a line drive, 25 to 32 is a fly ball. It's kind of like a grounder. It's not that great in average distance. 164. It is a weird profile, and again, it's small data. The average exit velocity kind of puts him with other middle infielders of last year, like Brendan Donovan, Isaac Paredes, Gavin Lux. So like that's kind of the situation he is in, but also this is AAA. This is not major league hitting, so or major league pitching. So I don't know how he will do, but I think Blank Name made a good point earlier. Just there's a lot of levels for him to climb last year. Now he's just climbing Charlotte, and if Romy Gonzalez struggles, we'll see what happens. But I think the big thing, Berger playing third base, he just seems
surprised. I'm surprised.
Well,
yeah.
It seems like that's the only guy that it's like his natural position. I know, he's moved over to first now, but Romy really wasn't a third baseman. He's not really a corner infielder. He's more of a middle infielder. Same with Hanser and Elvis and, most of the other guys, Lynn as well. It just seems like he probably is the most comfortable at third, right?
Yeah, I would imagine, or it's just an idea of, hey, we got no TA in there, no Eloy in there, no Moncada in there, need some offense. Yeah. And Jake Berger, whether he has, listen, everybody knows what he's done in the field during his time in the major leagues, his brief time in the major leagues, but everybody also knows what he can do at the plate. And I think to be able to put Jake Berger in the middle of that lineup when it is depleted helps it more. I mean, imagine if that was Hanser Alberto starting there tonight. Again, the guy homered yesterday. But the point being that lineup would look a lot weaker than it might already to a lot of people looking at it.
Well, I think you could take the trade-off of maybe Jake Berger runs into one, and Jake Berger also does Jake Berger things at third base. Maybe one error.
Hey, Hanser Alberto had that day yesterday, and they won.
Yeah, you'll take that. I'll take that. Hell, you got to deal with whatever you're dealt with right now, and beggars can't be choosers. And since Jake is probably the best third baseman on the roster right now, I'm shrugging because Hanser Alberto didn't show up.
Still on them.
In the roster. Saying
healthy,
available.
Right, yeah,
available.
We saw what Hanser Alberto did yesterday. I think I'll take what Jake Berger can do in the field and with the bat over Hanser Alberto in the stead of Yoan Moncada in these next two games at least.
Well, Berger's only ever played third base in his career. Even going back to college, he was always a third baseman solely at Missouri State. So he's got to be better at third than he is at first, at least.
Most State Bears reference from Steven over there.
Loves the Most State Bears.
I'm a Missouri Valley guy. I saw him play in college, actually.
Our guy Kevin, too, was bringing up that Frank Thomas is the only SEC player in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I mean,
that's what he told me.
Wow.
Then we're going through all college baseball players, and I don't know.
Sitting right there. Kevin, is that true?
No, Kevin Kaduk.
Oh, Kevin.
No,
okay.
that's
State.
That is also a man named Kevin, but a different.
And
Kevin
you pointed over there. He's standing right there.
That Kevin's
I'm just
office.
saying.
Over
in terms of like Mississippi State would have had one if Rafael Palmeiro didn't do steroids.
Right.
If Lance Lynn makes the Hall of Fame, he's an SEC guy.
I don't think he will.
What if a Missouri? What if
Kendall Graveman makes the Hall of Fame? He's an SEC.
Here's the thing: when Max Scherzer makes the Hall of Fame as a Mizzou Tiger, did not play in the SEC, would that be counting as a Hall of Famer from the SEC?
He's a Big 12 guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
As someone whose Mizzou pride is very Big 12 era, I think we've got to call it a Big 12.
Yeah, they're a doormat in the SEC. They were champions in the Big 12.
They went to the SEC title game in football their first 2 years in the SEC.
Oh,
how about that?
Okay, yeah. I thought it was in their last 2 years of the Big 12 that they were in the.
They were good there too.
Title, yeah.
Yeah.
They were.
They had good quarterbacks.
All right, do we have the starting lineup for the Twins as well? And I had a horrible thought that first off, Steven had a right thought. We had a video that posted today on CHGO Sports YouTube channel, VOD, of me complaining about Benintendi not batting third anymore, and here he is. He's now batting first.
Wish.
I got my wish. My monkey paw curled. But the Twins lineup as follows. Donovan Solano being moved up from the third hitter to number one, leadoff hitter. He's playing first base, all 5'8" of them. Batting second, Byron Buxton. He will be their designated hitter. Batting third, Trevor Larnach in left field. Batting fourth, Jose Miranda at third base. Batting fifth, Nick Gordon at second base. Batting sixth, my guy, Kyle Farmer at shortstop. Batting seventh, Matt Wallner in right field. Batting eighth, Christian Vasquez at catcher. And batting ninth, Michael B. Taylor in center field. Why B+?
He did all right in the field yesterday.
Catches yesterday. Yeah.
It's better than his, D- yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know he had that good of a game, though. I mean, you bumped
really
him up,
good defense.
2 whole grades. And
He was on base
all right, hey,
at some point.
there you go. So let's go into the pitching matchup here because you and I got a little contentious here, and we're getting close to game time. It's Lance Lynn versus Pablo Lopez. Not a great lineup from the Twins here. Again, they're kind of banged up. The White Sox lineup, again, they're not that banged up in the grand scheme of things when you have Luis Robert Jr. and Andrew Benintendi still in the lineup. But Lance Lynn, in 10 innings pitched so far this year, a 9 ERA, 12 hits allowed, 11 walks, or 11 Ks, 7 walks, and an ERA plus of 48. That's not good. Pablo Lopez in 12 and a third, .73 ERA, 5 hits allowed, 16 strikeouts, 4 walks, and an ERA plus of 6.15. Again, 2 starts.
6.15?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to hold. But
my goodness.
If you were just to look at these stats and these stats alone, Herb would be right. Pablo Lopez is a better pitcher than Lance Lynn.
Let's stop the vote. Yes, and think of the 2 teams I think Pablo has played is the Royals and the Marlins. Not that great of hitting teams. While Lance has gone against the defending champion, or the reigning champion Houston Astros and the Giants. A little tougher for Lance, and it's unorthodox his last start, walking all those guys, getting hit as hard as he did. I expect more of the guy that showed up versus Houston than the guy that showed up at home versus the Giants. But, yeah, Pablo Lopez has been filthy, and added a sweeper apparently, and that's not a pitch the White Sox do well with.
No, that's a great point, Herb. What a segue for me to bring up run value, like the dweeb I am. The White Sox versus the sweeper as a team, surprisingly, have a 3.2 run value.
That's more than I would think.
Which I was pretty shocked about. However, they swing and miss at it a lot, which I think is going to play into Pablo Lopez's favor. Pablo Lopez did add a sweeper. You are correct about this. When we first talked about the trade back on January 23rd, I hyped up his changeup. You know what? Just completely stopped throwing the pitch. He's like, here comes the sweeper. And you want to know why? He's thrown it 48 times this year. Do you know how many hits he's allowed on that pitch?
5.
Let's say 0.
Okay, 0 is correct. He's allowed 5 hits on the year, none to the sweeper. Wow. It is a fantastic pitch. I think he tweaked his cutter. He used to throw a cutter, and it used to be pretty similar mile per hour to his sinker. Mm-hmm. So he now basically just kind of made it longer, throws it a little less hard, gets more break, and that's things sweeps. The sweeper sweeps. I'm concerned about Andrew Vaughn and Luis Robert Jr. Going up against this pitch. Jake Berger as well. One of my favorite props on DraftKings Sportsbook right now is over 6.5 strikeouts for Pablo Lopez. I got it plus 135. I think a lot of strikeouts for Lopez today. 8 against the Royals, 8 against the Marlins. It's a great pitch, and I think he'll be able to really negate a lot of the right-handed batters in this White Sox lineup today, just because TA is very, very good, and I don't know, just not having him, we saw what he does when he just gets a hit, when he gets on base, and you won't have that at the top of the lineup. So I'm concerned, especially just with Pablo Lopez's ability to locate this new pitch.
Easier said than done is just for the White Sox, see a pitch middle out and just take it early in the game to allow Lopez to make that a strike. And if you can't get it in the strike zone, you just let that pitch go. If he gets in the strike zone the first time, second time around, tip the cap and allow that to happen. But you don't want to be out there twisting yourself into the ground trying to hit a sweeper. As you said, TA is probably the perfect guy out there because he takes the balls deep. He allows the ball to get to the other side of the plate, and he'll just flip it out to right field. Now, if the White Sox would want to or they felt comfortable, I would get a couple people on top of the plate so you can reach that thing. Luis is probably like a nice 1.5 feet away from home plate when he's already just a regular stance. That sweeper going in the left-handed batter's box, he's going to be flailing at that anyway, so get closer. So at least you have a chance to put some bat on it, hit it to right field, do something different.
My concern, though, is just going to throw that sinker right inside. I mean, he's got a great arsenal to attack this White Sox lineup. Just run sinkers inside and then throw the sweepers away. I can just see the White Sox having difficulty tonight. What do you make of the matchup? You have a score prediction. We got Click to Picks. Click to Picks. All right. I really second-guessed myself on that. We also have Click to Picks as well. A score prediction, feeling good about the Sox? Lance Lynn bouncing back.
I'm feeling Lance Lynn's going to do his job, but I don't know if the White Sox are going to get enough hits to beat the Minnesota Twins, even though that Twins lineup is trash. 3-0, Twins win.
Who's your
my
guy?
my pick to click. I think I picked Jake Berger. Maybe he runs into one, but I don't think so. Lopez is pretty damn good.
Shutout. Doesn't seem like they're going to run into one.
Hey, sometimes you got to pick losses, and this one is favoring the Minnesota Twins because their pitcher right now is better than our pitcher.
I say the White Sox win this one. I think they were maybe keyed on by the loss of TA, as counterintuitive as that is. Guys can get up and have a nice day.
I saw the Twins without Buxton and Correa yesterday give the White Sox a scare.
I think Lance Lynn's going to be Lance Lynn and not the guy he was against the Giants. I'll go ahead. My click to pick is Oscar Colas. I say the White Sox win 1-0.
All right, very nice. So that's a pitcher's duel. Very fun. Our guy Matthew Cortese picking a Lynn no-hitter and a White Sox 5-0 win.
My man, back.
Death, taxes, and Cortese picking a no-no.
Steven, what was the stat you had on Lynn's walks? Leads the league right now.
So he only had 19 walks last year. He's got 7 already this year, which leads the league. He only had the start he had with the most walks last season was 3. And this year his 2 starts are 3 walks and 4 walks. So control's definitely been an issue for Lance Lynn in the early going here.
Well, and I think that stretch after July or after the All-Star break, he had like 72 strikeouts and 6 walks.
Yeah.
So it was a stretch of like 15
He
games.
got hot.
Yeah, he got real hot. So I don't know if it's last year for Lynn. Again, I think he was running into some dead arm stuff just with pitching a lot in the World Baseball Classic. I think Byron Buxton takes him deep. He hasn't had a ton of success against Lance Lynn, but being a DH, saw that one foul ball that he hit. I don't know. Just seems like that guy.
He's on that one.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough to keep that guy cold. And I do think Lance, what we've seen so far is, he's been effective. He's been able to get to the 6th inning, but it always seems like late in the game, there's always that one home run that
shut the door,
that
right?
slips through. Yeah. So I could see Buxton taking him deep tonight. I think that's at plus 330 on DraftKings Sportsbook. My click to pick is Yaz. I'd like to see him bat in third. I know Gavin's been doing pretty well with the bat so far. But Yaz, he's a $72 million man. He's got all that power, the ability to walk. I don't know. I see Yaz at the 5th spot, and I feel like he should be bumped up a little bit. But I'll take Pablo Lopez to have a good day. I'll say 3-2 Twins win, but it seems like we're thinking it's going to be a pitcher's duel and not a lot of runs. So make sure you go over to DraftKings Sportsbook and hit the under for tonight's game between the Sox and the Twins. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us in the chat. I'm sorry. I just feel a Buxton home run happening. My bad. But make sure you're hitting that like button on our way out. We'll join you live for the post-game after this game between the White Sox and the Twins. That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing the show. We will talk to you after the game. Go Sox.